next two slides are concepts that we've addressed a little, and we always struggle with them, believe me. I mean, maybe one of the reasons they're trying to emphasize this more is because we see that the kids later on, like pre-calculus and calculus, are still struggling with these concepts, so maybe they want to hit it earlier. You know, generally, what do you think of when you think of domain? X values, right? So domain is usually the X values, and range is usually the Y values, right? And that means one thing. That means one thing when you're given a set of points, you know, just a certain number of points, you could go in and pick them all out. But it's a whole different thing when you've got a graph, which is made up of infinitely many points. So when I'm looking at the domain of a function, again, if we mean it's the X values, since we're not going to be able to list all the X values, we give a range of values, right? What is the least? What is the greatest? And in the case of a straight line like this, these lines go on forever to the left and to the right. So you would say all real numbers, right? Whenever you see that kind of thing, you say all real numbers. So to the left and to the right, meaning in the X direction, since it's going infinitely to the right, infinitely to the left, domain is all reals. And, you know, one of the things that, it kind of bothers me, we get all these tests from all these different people, and they make them in their own way, and they use their own notation, that I've seen them represent that by doing this. Negative infinity to positive infinity in parentheses. And they mean all reals. Okay. What would be the range of this line, the Y values? It's all real numbers because it goes infinitely down, goes infinitely up. So range, all reals. Okay. How about this absolute value V? What is the domain? Yeah, look in the X direction, right? The arrows definitely are going to the right and to the left, all reals. So that one's good. Can we say the same thing about the Y's? Yeah, they're going definitely infinitely up, but how far down does it go? Yeah, it only goes down to -2. So how could we say that as a range of values? Y greater than or equal to -2. That would be one way to say it. Okay, how about this parabola? What would we say is the domain? All reals, right? Because these arrows are going to the left and to the right. But what is the range? Yeah, no, and this one, it actually goes infinitely down, but it only goes as high as 2. So how do you say that? Y less than or equal to 2. And I think my pen has to catch up. I'm starting to realize that when I write with the pen, you know, when it goofs up on me up here, you guys don't see it that much because I don't make a lot of videos, but I think it's when I start writing lower on the screen and the pen is upside down, that's when the problems happen, you know. Let me try this again. Y is less than, oh, there it goes, or equal to 2. And I also just learned this one, is I can actually scroll down to give myself a little more room there at the bottom. Okay, and what graph does that look like that we just looked at? The logarithm, right? And is this domain all real numbers? No, how would you say that? Greater than? Could it be greater than or equal to? Can it equal 0? No, because there's an asymptote. So make sure on logarithms, it does not include the asymptote. It can't. Never touches that line. What about the range? All infinitely down, infinitely up, all reals.